Chat, what's up, everybody? It is Monday. It's been a couple weeks since we've been live on the series. I have been okay. What's up, Cat? She was hiding behind my monitor apparently, and when I started yelling at the chat, I scared her a little bit. So I'm gonna move my desk slightly too. Yeah, I've traveled far and yon, or whatever the phrase is, and have not had the opportunity to do a Monday Mayhem, but it is in fact Monday, and we are indulging a little bit of mayhem today. And talking about new Black Templars. We saw a little bit of Black Templars action over the course of the weekend. It seems like their new codex supplement's actually sick. So I was actually not really expecting to talk about them that much, but they are kind of making some waves. So let's hop in. Indeed. Are the cats besties? They are getting closer. My housemate keeps sending me pictures of them hanging out like slightly closer together. First, it was in adjacent rooms. Started with adjacent floors, then it was adjacent rooms, then it was the opposite ends of the same room, then it was on the same piece of furniture, and now it's like within 2 feet. So we're getting there. We're almost there, chat. We're almost there, chat. I almost said we're almost there, cat. Yeah. So I went through the results from this weekend, and I have taken down, if we take a peek over here, I have analyzed many a Black Templars army. I have good news and I have bad news for everybody, chat. What should we cover first? Do we want to cover the good news or the bad news? How are people feeling about this faction? Bad news? We want bad news? Oh, just rip the Band-Aid right off? All right, here's the bad news, chat. You ready? Literally no detachment besides Gladius Task Force went undefeated. Every single undefeated, and I believe every single 4-1 list that this faction put out was Gladius Task Force. So that's the bad news. Bad news is if you want to win, Gladius Task Force is really good. What a shocker. Gladius Task Force continues to be incredibly strong. Definitely one of the, I think now that other detachments have been removed from the environment, Gladius Task Force, I think we could pretty confidently say it's like the best detachment in the game. Obviously, like, I think old school Battle Host was like probably the best one, but it seems to me maybe I was gonna say Noble Lance, but that's probably not the case. Maybe it's Noble Lance. It could be Noble Lance, but I think Gladius Task Force is certainly most flexible. So shocker, Gladius Task Force is really fucking good. Good news, obviously, is that Black Templars seem like they're sweet. So if you are looking for a new way to play Space Marines, then Black Templars might be a really interesting direction to go in. They have some really interesting, unique tools. That said, I did find several other detachments that did do well. So all the lists we're going to talk about today are going to be non-Gladius Task Force lists with a winning record. So I talked about Gladius Task Force in my my video this morning. If you want to hear me talk about 2 separate Gladius Task Force lists for Black Templars, you can head on over there and talk about and watch my video from this morning. I put a little bit of extra time. I don't have any of the like datasheet assets and stuff for Black Templars, but I did put some time into pulling up abilities and stuff that I was referencing. Heyo!
Into Random donated $2 Canadian through Super Chat. Ironstorm Black Templars are shockingly good.
Yeah, that's one of the archetypes we'll talk about for sure. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. We'll definitely talk about Ironstorm for sure. Definitely. That is one of them. Also, some interesting ones: Stormlance and Vanguard Spearhead. Shocker. The other compliant Marine detachment is actually doing pretty well. So, anyway, yeah, that's what we're doing today. That's what we're going to be talking about today, folks. And I want to start with one of the more commonly played ones. Now, I will level with you. I have not read this codex at all. Besides the stuff that I read for the video last night, which was my first time looking at these mechanics. So I'm going to I'm going to be pulling up my references here, and if I misspeak, I apologize. All right. So the most popular detachment that besides Gladius Task Force was Godhammer Assault Force. So you can pull up some Godhammer Assault Force lists real quick. Now this detachment forces battleshock checks on enemies that you charge if you disembark to transport. So if you jump out of the transport, get the 3-inch disembarkation, run up, charge somebody, must take a battleshock test. That can stop interrupts and stuff and prevent defensive stratagems. It's not great, but it's something at least. In addition, if you disembark to transport, you gain +1 to hit on your melee attacks. Now, for a faction that has extremely high access to hit rerolls in melee, +1 to hit is actually sick because it allows you to more reliably search for critical hits. So if you are gaining hit rerolls, you can take those. You could reroll all of your results that aren't criticals and try to get more criticals without really changing the math on your normal hit rolls anyway. So it just is basically plus EV if you have something like a Castellan plus Marshall combo attached into a unit. So we're gonna start here at the Tabletop Renaissance August RTT. Ali Shah went. I think this is 2-1 with Godhammer Assault Force. Rocking triple Castellan. So the Castellan is the reroll hits guy. So he gives you reroll once to hit. He takes a leadership chest when you fight. If he passes, you get full hit rerolls instead. So pretty good shot to get basically an Oath of Moment in melee. But worst case scenario, if you are disembarking a transport and charging, you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. That's totally fine. He also hits pretty hard himself. Basically all of the mastercrafted weapons of the faction are lethal hits. So when you're rerolling hits, you get a lot of chances to gain rerolls. So it's pretty sweet. And then he also gives you command point generation when his unit kills stuff, which is kind of cool. So 3 basic Castellans. We have an Emperor's Champion with Herald of the Sacred Slaughter. This gives you Scout 9 on a vehicle. That seems pretty okay. I don't know. I'm no expert, but that seems all right. We have a Judiciar, just a regular old fight first boy, and then a Marshal with Paragon of Fury. Paragon of Fury is you gain +2 strength on your melee weapon, so he goes to strength 5 to strength 7. So he wounds T12 on 5s, 4s if you are in the Vow to gain +1 to wound against stuff with higher toughness than your strength, which is actually kind of insane. Plus the Marshal's interesting because he has 7 base power weapon melee attacks. However, he gains +1 attack for each enemy unit within 6, which means at the very least, baseline, he's attacking 8 times. There's no way to not get him to attack 8 times because he's definitionally within 6 of an enemy. So he could be swinging in a perfect scenario. He could be swinging like 10 or 11 times potentially if you're in an MSU, sort of situation next to a bunch of enemies. And then all of those are going to be potentially critting on 5s if you're leading a unit plus rerolls from the Castellan. So they go pretty hard. When you disembark a transport that turn, he also gains +1 damage. So he goes to damage 3. That's actually horrifying. All right. We have 1 Assault Intercessor squad. We have 2 Impulsors, so a little bit of transport synergy here. Double Blade Guard veteran squads. That's interesting. Now, I actually don't know what the Marshals and the Castellans naturally attach to. I believe that they can attach to Blade Guard. No, they cannot. I'm just kidding. They can attach to Assault Intercessors and Stern Guard, but specifically not Blade Guard. So I guess the Emperor's Champion attached to Blade Guard? That would make sense. The Emperor's Champion is actually, he's an interesting piece because I think they sort of unlocked he also cannot attach to Blade Guard veterans. So actually, I guess the second Blade Guard veteran unit's just vibing. They're just hanging out. It's okay. We're just doing stuff. But I think they unlocked the melee, the melee like solo carry character with Lucius the Eternal. I think they figured it out what they should do because the Emperor's Champion is super hard hitting, right? He gains he's either 10 sweep attacks for 1 damage if he's swinging into like Guardsman equivalents. He's actually perfectly statted to kill Guardsman equivalents. He's 2s into 2s, punches through their armor and kills them. Or he's strength 8, AP 3, 3 damage. So not quite good enough to like solo heavy armor. So toughness 9 or higher. Unless, of course, obviously you can get the +1 to wound thing, so you could get him to wound on 4s, and then he's dangerous. But by himself with no other buffs, he's largely wounding on 5s. However, if you stack anything on top of that, he becomes very dangerous. So he requires a little bit of setup. In addition, he's also he can gain devastating wounds against characters. He's a critical 5 up against characters on the wound roll, so he's devastating on 5s once per game into characters. And he can gain +2 to charge characters. So that's cool. He also, once he's by himself, he's kind of like Lucius, where he becomes a different unit when he's alone because he has lone operative baked in. So he can't be shot outside 12 inches. So there's no requirement to get his things going. There's no requirement for him to be joining into a unit. Basically, he is only good in units if they are applying a bonus to him. And when you assign damage to him, he can once per phase, he can blank or zero out failed saving throws. So by himself, he can't be shot outside 12, and if you're within 12, he's gonna blank a bunch of incoming damage. So he's independently, he can act as an independent operator and just run around and absolutely like clip through enemy utility stuff. Or you can put him into a unit, put enhancements on him, and make him like an absolutely insane like force multiplier. So like in Gladius Task Force, we see him either with Artificer armor to make him even harder to kill. So he's lone operative, 2+, 5+ feel no pain, blanks damage, or you can put him honor Vehemence on him, and he goes to strength 10.
Musebs donated $5 through Super Chat. Just a small thank you for the games/tournaments on VOD, damn time zones. Helped survive work and painting my wolves.
Mudspice, thank you so much for the Super Chat, buddy. I'm glad that you enjoyed them. I hope that the games were fun. This weekend's games were insane. If you want to see like the biggest brain space or Blood Angels play, watch round 1 of day 2. And if you just want to see like ridiculously insane close games, watch all of day 1. All the games day 1. I was telling some of the people at the event this. They were like, "Oh, how did the streams go?" And I was like, "Bro, for whatever reason, this relatively small GT in kind of the middle of nowhere had the craziest set of day 1 games you've ever had. All of the day 1 games that we streamed were the last games to finish. And obviously some of that is that, and the judges were actually super duper cordial. They gave the players like 10 buffers out of 10 minutes for stream games, which I absolutely love when they do. They don't have to do that. Obviously for huge events, it like slows the event down. They don't want to do that. But for smaller stuff, usually they'll give the players leniency if they're on stream, because there's like I have to brief the players. I have to talk to them about how the system works, expectations, stuff like that. And then obviously like there's a little bit of additional like logistics as well. Like the table's larger, so it's a little bit harder to move around. You got to roll in a dice box. So they give players an extra 10 minutes, and I really appreciate that they did that. But also, the games just went the whole distance every time. They all went to the bottom of 5. It was insane. So it was a great weekend of streaming up until the finals game, unfortunately. But it is Death Guard. And I was joking with Jack Murphy, the player who won that event, throughout the entire weekend, and he was like, he was joking to me that he was like, "Oh, all I did was play Death Guard, so I didn't have to play on stream because I don't really want to play on stream this weekend. I will if I have to, but also nobody wants to watch this fucking faction." I was like, "Yeah, dude, it's so stupid." So I love the Emperor's Champion. So there's not really a requirement that we attach him anywhere. If anything, he's good into the Assault Intercessors because he can grant he can gain wound rerolls. So when he uses his devastating wounds against characters once per game, he can absolutely just truck them. As a demons player, I'm a little worried about this guy because he's gonna run into a greater demon, wound on 4s, potentially full reroll, just hit for devastating with like most of his attacks, and punch through invuln saves. That's absolutely horrifying. I wouldn't be surprised to see this guy bump in points a little bit actually as we go. He's 90. But he feels like 100. He feels like he's a little Baphiston almost. He's obviously not as independently powerful, but holy crap, is he a crazy little dude. He's also awkwardly, and I'm just noticing this now, if you attach him into something like Assault Intercessors, he's faster than they are, which is, or Sternguard Veteran even. He can jump into Sternguard Veteran squads, which is basically a movement buff on the unit. And for if you're wondering how that works, you can essentially when you set up the unit, especially if you're coming out of transports, and this is Godhammer, so you're going to do that. You essentially set the faster model up in the back. So the real estate of closest to your opponent, which is the most valuable real estate for a melee unit, is taken up by your slower models. But then when you move them, the Emperor's Champion leapfrogs from the back of the unit to the front and adds 2 inches to their threat range, which is actually really cool. I did not actually internalize how fast he was. It also makes him incredibly good at utility. This guy is this like the best character in 40k? He's incredible. I don't know if I'd really thought about how insane this like series of abilities are. What an insane little guy. This guy plus a combi weapon lieutenant makes me feel like I want to vomit. There was somebody's gonna run a Gladius task force that's like Artificer Gravis Captain, this idiot, plus a combi weapon lieutenant, and they're gonna make somebody quit 40k forever because it's just the greatest hero hammer of all time. Absolutely wild. Oh boy. All right, so we have double Blade Guard Veteran squads, Infiltrator squad for the back line, Land Raider Crusader, Repulsor Executioner, so transport that also shoots good and rerolls its hit rolls. We love to see that. It rerolls hits as long as it shoots something within 12 inches of a Space Marine, which is almost all the time. So it's basically just hit rerolls forever. The Black Templars Repulsor Executioner is incredible. Scout squad for utility, triple Sword Brethren squad. Everybody rocking Mastercrafted power weapons so we can spam our lethal hits. One of them just has 4 people, and the other 2 are 5, so we can get the extra swing in there. And I wonder if I wonder if there's I imagine that we're just taking the 5 for points, but it could be that we're trying to find extra transport slots, but I'm not sure. So all of the Castellans can jump into Sword Brethren squads. One of them gets the Marshal. So obviously his attacks add into the total, and then you get critical 5-ups from him as well. And then we get an Emperor's Champion probably hanging out with an Assault Intercessor squad, plus a Judiciary with a Blade Guard Veteran squad. Total transported infantry is going to be 14 Sword Brethren, 12 Blade Guard Veterans, so 26 plus 5 Assault Intercessors, 31 plus characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 37. And we have 14 slots in Impulsors, 16 slots in Land Raider Crusader, so 30. Repulsor Executioner has 7 slots. Exactly enough. I knew it. So we cut a Sword Brethren so that we could fit exactly in 37 slots for the transport. Incredible. So every single infantry, non-scout infantry starts to transport, so it all gets a benefit from the detachment ability. Insane. Now in this detachment, we can also do things like when you fight for a command point into the fight phase, you can make a normal move up to 6. You can embark into a transport as long as you did not disembark the same turn, which is a little unfortunate, but obviously that's a balancing factor. Being able to fight and then re-embark is very, very strong. Drukari will tell you. Uncompromising egress, so you can disembark from a Land Raider and go 6 inches out and even into engagement range rather than 3. So basically, at worst case, it's an additional 3 inches of disembarkation threat range.
Ryan G donated $5 through Super Chat. I'm not sure if it was early Codex syndrome, but I like how the BT vehicles feel unique and synergize with the army theme. Rep X's are a great example.
No, I'm Ryan G, I'm 100% with you. I think this is a really good example of how to do these like unique chapter things. I think they sort of learned from Chaos Space Marines, right? Because on release, every Chaos Space Marine sub-faction had a list of identical vehicles. So it was like, well, it doesn't matter what color you paint your vehicles, like what color you paint your power armor, because all of your Land Raiders, Predators, Vindicators are all identical, right? And then as they divorced or diverged into multiple different subfactions, every single one of them got unique takes on those vehicles. And I think they're moving that way for Space Marines, and I imagine if we see re-releases of this stuff in 11th edition, it's going to be that way as well, which I absolutely love, and I think it's super cool. I would love to see some more like faction identity like this. I think is always good because it just increases your it increases like the breadth of the game when it comes to like army construction. Definitely. So I'm a big fan of sub-factions. I think people love sub-factions, so that's basically what we're seeing. But we're basically baking sub-faction abilities into data sheets instead of into an overarching rule, which is also fine. You can also grant your units reroll wounds if they disembark land raiders. Sick. So we can be getting wound rerolls off of these Sword Brethren squads as well. That's terrifying. Or Blade Guard veterans even, which is huge. And your land raiders can charge through models, which is not a very good ability. And you can move vehicles through train features. So literally a series of incredibly strong stratagems inside the detachment. Detachment ability is fine. +1 to hit in melee when you disembark a transport's like good, but not like super crazy. But the stratagems are all very, very good in comparison with transports, so that's sweet. Repulsor Executioners encourage you to take infantry, not hull spam in the infantry themed army. Yeah, for sure. Especially because like you already kind of want the transport capacity to help you deliver like tiny melee units, right? Like the entire army is just a series of basically the entire Black Templars faction is a series of 6 to 7 model melee units. And so a Repulsor Executioner being this big beefy profile that can sort of wander around.
Just a Panda donated $2 through Super Chat. Trevi, +1 to wound is if you're equal or less than T.
+1 is if you're equal or less than toughness. Yeah. Did I say that wrong otherwise earlier? So you cap at a 5 to wound. You never wound anything on a 6. And then if you're any better, then it's just pure bonus, right? But I guess what you're saying is like if you go to strength 9, you can wound T9 on 3s, which is good. Anyway, should we talk about another one? Do a little bit more Godhammer, a little God hambling. Oh, did I misspeak earlier? Okay, well I said it right in my video, so that's all that matters. Nobody's gonna watch this. Just watch my video. All right. Here's the next one. So from Abyss GT, which is I believe a 3-2 finish. I don't think anyone went X1. Paul Rondro had a winning record with another Godhammer Seed Force or Assault Force, excuse me. It's a sort of a similar build, but we took High Marshal Helbrecht instead of the Judiciar. I don't know. Oh, there's a Crusader squad. Ooh, that's spicy. So Helbrecht, new Helbrecht. Actually, don't know what he does. Let's read his data sheet together. So new Helbrecht still deals mortal wounds, gives his unit +1 attack and strength. Okay. We have 2 4-man Sword Brethren squads. And we have the 1 Crusader squad. Intercessor squad could take attachments, but I'm not sure we're doing that. It feels to me like we're going to be dual attaching Helbrecht and the Marshal into 2 separate units, and then Castellans join them. A third Castellan joins whatever additional squad is there, and then we get a solo Emperor's Champion. I don't believe, I will fact check myself on this, but I don't believe that the Castellans can dual attach with Emperor's Champions. They can dual attach with captains or chapter masters, but the Emperor's champion, I think, is just a champion, right? He is, he is just a character guy. So we can't dual attach the character with the Castellan with the Emperor's champion. So we're likely going to be running him by himself. And this is what's cool about the character is that he's basically 2 separate data sheets. And I like it when Games Workshop does this and they construct reasons to play both with or without any attachments. Now he's running Augury Servo Host. So you selected an enemy unit within 12 invisible, and it strips cover from it. It's only a 15-point enhancement, but for an independent operator who's relatively fast and can deploy out in the open or start in a transport and then run out, that's actually a pretty powerful effect to just be. He's basically, in addition to being a lone operative in a melee beatstick, he's also a Stormspeeder Hammer Strike. For 105 points. What a deal. What an absolute steal, the Emperor's champion over here. Absolutely insane. And then we have a Crusader squad. I don't know who jumps into the Crusader squad. It might just be an enhanced critical guy, I guess. I don't know. Extra attacks on the... I guess you get a higher volume of attacks if you attach Helbrecht to it. So it's probably Helbrecht, right? Because you're getting 10 extra attacks instead of 5 or 6 from the other the Sword Brethren squads. Yeah, they're just 4 basic chainsword attacks each, so they'd go to 5 at strength 5, which seems pretty okay. And then does he also benefit himself too from with the ability? I assume that he does, but they've been running a lot of vehicle or character attachments that don't benefit themselves. +1 attack and strength to weapons equipped by models in the unit. So Helbrecht himself brings himself to 7 attacks at strength 9 AP 3 damage. What an insane guy. Okay. That also inflicts mortal wounds on top of that. Jesus, Helbrecht. Calm down, my dude. I need you to take a chill pill. We could put him in Assault Intercessors, which actually seems great. We didn't take any in this one. Assault Intercessors, Crusaders, Intercessors, or Sword Brethren, yeah. Wound rerolls on his attacks actually feel really strong because he's very consistent. Interesting. Why are Castellans so cheap? Great question. Unironically, probably oversight. Because they used to be just a lieutenant, right? So they granted lethal hits and fall back and do stuff, which is fine. It was okay, but you would almost never take them. Like an additional assassination gives up an extra kill. We're playing Gladius 90% of the time, so it's fine. As soon as he gives the unit hit rerolls, recontextualizes the whole thing. So 60 might be cheap for them. I don't know. They also have like another 5 2-damage melee attacks as well, so they go kind of crazy. Thoughts on the Rada from Games Workshop on the transport embarkation roll. People are saying you only need 1 model within 3 to jump in. So that's true if the vehicle has a base, which is absolutely a mistake. I have ruled in my events that you still need to satisfy the other requirements of embarking to do so, and I don't know of any tournament circuits that have ruled otherwise, because it's clearly broken that vehicles that for whatever reason are specifically only the ones on bases get a dramatically stronger embarkation. I think is clearly a mistake. And so I don't know anywhere that plays it the other way. The rules is written. Which is weird. I hate doing that, but it's like, oh boy, is that open a can of worms. To a bunch of stuff that re-embarks into transports. It gets crazy. So I think that's definitely not great. Can we go over the Black Templar Repulsor Executioner datasheet? Yeah, we can. I'm just on 39k here, chat, so it's not my fault if anything is incorrect. But it's largely just a regular Repulsor Executioner that has a Multi-Melta on the Pintle mount. And this is like the whole thing is that they accidentally, they basically in the Primaris upgrades for one time, they gave you a Multi-Melta for your Pintle mount on your vehicles and didn't think about it, and then realized that they had to make a separate datasheet for every single Black Templars thing forever after that, which is a little bit silly. But the datasheet ability is that whenever you make a ranged attack that targets an enemy within 12 inches of one or more Astartes units from your army, you get hit rerolls. Very good. Extremely strong ability. So you can like still hang the Repulsor Executioner in the back. Also, first of all, it doesn't actually require any other units. It doesn't say another Adeptus Astartes unit. So if you're tabled and all you have is Repulsor Executioners and they just shoot something within 12 inches of themselves, they still get hit rerolls, which is great. However, you also can just spot with anything from your army. So you can have an empty transport run up into the middle of your opponent's army and gain all hit rerolls to every single one of your Repulsor Executioners. Which is amazing. It also applies to Overwatch and doesn't require line of sight. Yeah, that's true. That's true, chat. Any other Black Templar player at your event try to argue it? It was not happening. Judges shut it down. Yeah. I mean, that's certainly that's for sure going to happen. Obviously, like it's something that needs to be made clear to players beforehand, because if you were to just play rules like sight unseen, you should play rules as written, in my opinion. However, as soon as the judges like release an event FAQ, they immediately need to include that, because it's so stupid. It's so incredibly dumb that you could just get your whole unit into a transport from one guy. Crazy. But the fact that this doesn't require line of sight is wild. Not that that's a huge deal. I think 90% of the time you are going to be in line of sight with both units, with both the attacking unit and the spotter. But worst case scenario, I think that it is nice to have fewer sort of riders on it. So incredible ability here. The other thing I guess I actually didn't pay attention to is if we're taking lasers or plasma. When you're re-rolling hits, the plasma actually feels a lot better on the Repulsor Executioners, but I would not be shocked if it was all lasers all the time. It is lasers. If we're shooting into, if we're blowing up, what do you call it? Knights, we probably want the lasers anyway. So, to finish out this list, there's also there's a Brutalis Dreadnought in this one, which is wild. Being able to move that guy through walls is actually huge, so that makes a lot of sense to me. And then a Redemptor Dreadnought as well. I think we could stack, right, the 2 -1 damage buffs. Is that true? Is there anything that says that? Yeah. Just with -1 damage. So if you're getting hit by damage 3, you can drop it to 1 on the Redemptor Dreadnought. It's actually horrifying. That guy will never die. He will live. He will ride eternal, shiny and chrome. It's wild. It is, in fairness, only shooting phase. So if you get hit by a hammer, it's just -1 damage. It's not -2. But that could be wild. Ooh, spooky. Spooky. All right, chat. One more Godhammer. I've got one more on the roster, and then we can move to a different detachment. We'll see if it's significantly different. So Grimdark 25, the final Grimdark. This one apparently has Terminators in it, so we're in for a spicy list. Let's go. Mikkel Solberg has double Castellan, one with Herald of Sacred Slaughter, Emperor's Champion with no enhancements, Lieutenant with Combi Weapon, what a guy, Paragon of Fury Marshal for extra stabbing. What else left? Intercessor Squad, one standard Intercessor Squad for the backline, double Impulsor, Incursor Squad. Interesting. One thing you could do with that is you could scout one of the Impulsors, actually, which can give you like a weird burst on turn 1 for like turn 1 secondaries. So like if you have an Impulsor, you put it on the line with the Incursors inside it. You scout it 6, disembark the Incursors 3, so they go 9 inches forward instead of just 6. Then they can push to get like Engage or Area Denial or Establish Locus or whatever really, really easily. And then the second unit just runs into the Impulsor, and the Impulsor moves and goes into does something else. So Incursors inside Impulsors is actually super powerful, which is cool. We've got a Redeemer, an Executioner, double Executioner. It's cool that the reroll wound strat makes the Redeemer, makes the Land Raider chassis actually like pretty good. Plus double 4-man Sword Brethren squad and a 5-man Terminator Assault squad. We don't have any attachments or anything in here, so the Terminators are just vibing. But they do have devastating wound weapons. They don't have hit rerolls in any way. I don't think, right? There's no way to get hits. So they might just they get +1/+2 hit when they disembark though. So they hit on 3s instead of 4s. That's a big deal. I think a big mistake was making Thunderhammers like hit on 4s like basically universally, because they debuff their damage so hard that they were that the -1 hit actually became like kind of a crippling downside. You could get around it with Oath of Moment, but now we can get around it a little bit with +1 hit. And then you can give them wound rerolls so they can fish for devastating damage. That's actually very clever. I like that. We finally found a way to make an Assault Terminator squad playable. Plus, they take up 10 slots, so we can also attach in the Emperor's Champion plus a unit of 5 guys, or a unit of 4 and 2 characters on the Sword Brethren squad. So the Sword Brethren squad being able to be cut down to 4 models is actually hugely relevant. It's actually incredibly strong. Because it makes your transport attachments really, really, or your embarkations really easy. All right, I like that, chat. Oh, but this is a Redeemer actually. So I don't think it matters because it only has 14, not 16. Well, if it was a Crusader, then we could attach extra stuff. We could embark extra things. Just kidding, but in this case, it shouldn't matter. Sag. A Dreadnought getting out of a Storm Raven gets +1 to hit. Yes. Actually correct. I did not think of that, but that's so true. a little Brutalis Dreadnought action. It is only melee. It doesn't work with guns, but that's actually sick. The Brutalis is the coolest thing we could do with that, right? For sure. I think so. I think that's ooh, my YouTube's having a little conniption right now. We all do Gladius already? In my Monday video chat, in my video this morning. You want to hear me talk about at length for about 12 straight minutes about Gladius Task Force Black Templars. You can watch that video. All right. So I've got some spicy ones in here on my notes sheet. Ironstorm Spearhead, Stormlance Task Force, Vanguard Spearhead, Wrathful Procession, and Champions of Vehemence. What are we feeling? How do we feel? Black Templars, old and busted. Orcs, older and busteter. I don't know, chat. I don't know if orcs are particularly good. Although apparently there's rumors abound that this week might hold a balance, an emergency balance patch, because the metagame's in such a bad state. It was interesting because if you watch my video this week, the metagame actually looks super duper healthy right now. We had a bunch of like really weird factions do really well, and everyone I've spoken to has said that's because no one wants to play Death Guard anymore. People are tagging for Imperial Knights, so they don't tend to get to the top tables quite as much, because they hit like Eldar War Hosts and stuff, and they just blow up. But Death Guard kills everything and is the most boring faction to play, and no one wants to do it. So like 90% of the meta has just switched off of Death Guard for their own sanity, which I absolutely love. Like the community is policing itself. Like, guys, we don't want to do this. We actually literally saw this at the beginning of 10th when Eldar was literally unbeatable for 90% of the game. and you might as well not show up against an Eldar player. And I played in several tournaments, and I saw many like tournaments and GTs happen where the entire community just collectively said we are not going to play Eldar this weekend, and they all showed up and had a great time. And that, I think that's what happened this weekend, which was insane. But obviously, we shouldn't be in a position where you have to do that. So I have heard tale there's a balance patch coming, and it sounds like orcs might get crazy buffs in the next round, which would be cool. Victory Tactical Warsuit is not a dreadnought? I don't believe so. Emergency data slate. All speed feats buffs reverted, points further increased. Finally, orcs are returned to orcs being balanced once again. All right. Let's hop into Wrathful Procession. I need to look up what this detachment does. So this is, I believe, if I remember correctly, this is the Grotsmith detachment that came out online. So the start of the battle round, you recite a litany. And if you do until the end of the battle round, the litany is active and applies to all infantry and mounted units. Either +2 movement and +1 to advance rolls, +1 strength characteristic, not that useful anymore, or 5+ invulnerable save against ranged attacks. Pretty sweet. We are heading over to the Game Bunker August GT. So this was a 3-2 finish for Jason Wells over here. +2 movement's actually crazy because the units have a higher base, higher than normal base movement characteristic because they're like melee Space Marines. So like the Emperor's Champion can go to move 10, which is sort of a long way. All right. So we have a Castellan, an Emperor's Champion with Sacred Rage. This is once per game fight first. Okay, it's kind of spooky. That's a very spooky little guy. We have a Judiciary, so another set of fight first. High Marshal Halbrecht for the +1 strength, plus a lieutenant and a marshal. Assault Intercessor Squad, Crusader Squad, Crusader Squad, Crusader Squad. Okay, very nice. Is there a specific synergy with Crusaders? I don't think so, right? You can gain +1 AP, I guess, which is big because they're only base AP 1, so that's a big deal. They're also, let me check. Got cat here. They are faster than normal, right? So they're like base movement. Oh no, they're base movement 6. So I guess it's just the E-Champ who is faster. Is that right? I was under the impression that they had gotten a movement buff, but I guess I'm wrong. Well, that's my bad. I mistook. I thought they went up to move 7. But I guess not. So we have a jump back assault intercessor squad, so it can move up to 14 inches. Ballistic dreadnought, double repulsor executioner, a scout squad, sword brethren squad. So it's a million crusader squads. That's so interesting. I am it's just like 10 or like little, quote unquote, little 10-man crusader squads. I guess we can give them all invuln saves, which helps. If we want to, like, if before we go in, recite the litany for the shooting protection. And then, yeah, I don't know. I guess because they have a blood surge move, being protected from shooting is better. I'm not 100% sure I see it, chat. The Crusader squads seem fine. Just a bunch of lethal. Do they even have lethals, actually? I'm thinking about it. Are they just guys? They've sustained. So it's a bunch of sustained hits, melee attacks that we can amp with the characters, but it looks like we only have one castle and a martial combo, so that's probably just going with the Sword Brethren squad. And then we just have like Helbrecht and a bunch of guys. I guess it's probably good. They're good at like sort of disrupting objectives, but they're not that fast. I don't know, chat. What do you think about this list? This is a weird one. Helbrecht plus Crusader Sword is 6 Chainsword. I mean, I guess so, but is that better than just like more Sword Brother? I don't know. That's a weird one. That's an interesting little list there. Swordbread units damage output is insane. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about that one. That one kind of confounds me. Maybe I'm sure somebody will post in the comment section that it's actually like the most broken list ever made, and I just don't know what I'm talking about, which is fair. Let's talk about Champions of Vehemence. That guy did. Go. Let's go. Let's go. So this is a codex detachment that grants reroll, advance, and charge rolls. Well, that's very straightforward. I like a good reroll charges. Reroll charge rolls seems like the most mundane like ability to have until it comes into play, and then it's literally the greatest ability ever written. Forever of all time. Because it's like you just gain 5 command points, basically. You're like, oh, I could just CP reroll my advanced roll. Like, that's not that big of a deal. No. But you get to CP reroll all of them forever. So it's actually crazy. It's also it doesn't specify failed charge rolls as well, so you can reroll to like get a reduced number. So it gives you more control over your charges. Just really powerful. I kind of wish they would grant more reroll charge effects in 40k. The one place I don't like them is when they encourage you to like YOLO charges out of Deep Strike. Does look like we're doing that a little bit. We have 2 jump pack chaplains. So that might be what's happening here, where it's like, hey, play like kind of a like really risky whole game plan where you're just like jumping out of reserves and making coin flips all the time, which feels not very good for either player. But like for ground pounding units, I feel like reroll charges should be higher, like at a higher rate. Any of those like impact effects that don't do anything. So stuff like when you complete a charge, it battle shock your target or whatever. Those could just be reroll charges, and they would almost be strictly better. In 90% of cases. So I'd kind of like to see that. So we've got a Castellan, double jump pack chaplains. One of them has Incendiary Animus. So that is +1 AP for his whole unit. Not simply him. A +1 AP for everyone. That's big on the chaplain because the chaplain's base AP is trash. And I also imagine that we're jumping into Vanguard veterans here. Am I wrong? Nope. Just assault intercessors. So we can go to AP2 assault intercessors with +1 to wound from the extra +1 thing from the detachment ability. So that's actually kind of a horrifying level of output. Plus 2 sources of on impact mortal wounds, because you get the chaplain on selection to do mortal wounds to something engagement, and then the unit does impact attacks for damage for mortal wounds on the charge. So if you hit a single target that's not going to die, the average is probably like 6 or 7 mortals in most cases, which is actually that's pretty good. That's nothing to shake a stick at. We've got another jump pack chaplain with Merciless Denunciation to grant just straight up hit rerolls. Okay. Oh, and I guess the chaplains are kind of interesting because they give you +1 to wound. So you don't need the Templar vow for +1 to wound. So we're actually open to take other Templar vows if we want to. So you could make I don't know. I guess you also don't need reroll charges against Psychers because you have reroll charges baked in. I guess Obsec on all your infantry for Uphold the Honor of the Emperor. Or Suffer Not the Unclean to fall back in charge. So I kind of like that. It unlocks more abilities to the rest of the army. That's kind of cool. I don't take that. We also have an Emperor's Champion with Oathbound Exemplar. That's +1 to advance rolls. And you can advance and perform actions. Makes him even better utility unit. Plus a lieutenant with combi weapon. We have 2 Assault Intercessor squads. Interesting. Plus a regular Intercessor squad for the backline. 20 Jump Pack Assault Intercessors, 2 units of 10 for the chaplains to hop into. A Brutalis Dreadnought, interesting. An Infiltrator squad for screening. Redemptor Dreadnought, double Repulsor Executioner, 1 Calidus Assassin. Yeah, so we're definitely, I guess we are definitely attaching the Emperor's Champion, it feels to me like, into an Intercessor squad to give him rerolls. And then we have a Castellan plus, or just a Castellan for the other Intercessor squad. So you can gain hit and wound rerolls on this unit, and they're only 135 points, which actually makes them like really nice for trading and really consistent. Love a good consistent unit. If they just go into like 5 enemy Space Marines, they're just super dead. Like, and normally this would be like probably dead, but with wound reroll, like hit rerolls as well, becomes like super dead. And then is there anything cool we do with stratagems here? You get a reactive move towards enemies with chaplain or judiciary units after enemies fall back within 9 of you. So you could just dump a 20-man assault intercessor squad, jump back assault, or a 10-man, excuse me, jump back assault intercessor squad, bang a 9-inch charge with a reroll, or rapid ingress and move, and then make a 6 with a reroll or something. And then hit your mortal wound your opponent, beat the crap out of them. They fall back, and you just reactive move back into melee, and then kill them again. That's actually super dumb. Okay. I get it. I understand. You can give the whole unit, you can give them all precision. You can get reroll hit rolls of 1 and wound rerolls of 1. Just baseline from Pious Enmity. And you can make enemies battle shock. Okay. So the detachment abilities, or the effects of the detachment are kind of whatever. But again, just like a baseline reroll charges is really good. That reactive move is actually, it's going to catch people and it's going to be disgusting. You can also pay a CP to get pile in 6 inches. And you can pay 2 CP to get pile in 6 inches, and you don't have to pile in closer to the closest enemy. You can go do it closer to the closest unit. So you can like leapfrog the front row and just pile in 6 inches into the back row, and you all have flies, so you can remove over enemies when you do it. So this feels ridiculously, insanely finesse oriented. Like, these 2 units are going to do some ridiculous stuff. Just crazy things. What's weird about this enhancement, or this whole detachment, is it has no access to advance and charge. It has reroll advance rolls and a strategy or an enhancement that gives you +1 to advance, but no way to advance and do anything besides perform actions, which is fascinating. Huh. All right. What a strange detachment, chat. That's cool. No new chaplain. Yeah, no one played an execrator. I've not seen a single execrator, but most people played Gladius Task Force. And I think the execrator, it does make sense if you're not in Gladius Task Force. In this detachment, it seems like it'd actually be great. Because advanced charge plus reroll advanced rolls is huge. But you're also competing with the Castle and Marshal combo because you can't dual attach with a chaplain. So I don't know if anybody really wants the lower damage output. Like if you're really teching the list, just playing in Gladius Task Force and paying the command point, which you probably have quite a few of because you're generating them off your Castellans as well, means that you are likely to be doing some. You're likely to be advancing and charging anyway. All right, with that, I think it's time to. Speaking of Gladius Task Force, let's hop into some of the Codex detachments. Most interesting one I've seen, speaking of advance and charge, let's talk about a list that super doesn't need execrators because it's a Stormlance task force from 40k Fight Club Open. I think this player might have actually done better than 3-2. Oh, I think he actually went 2-1 drop. So I think that he dropped a game and dropped the event. But if I remember correctly, is that the case? Williamson? But that's basically the same as. Yeah, he did go 2-1 drop. Oh well. But that's basically like winning, like going 2-1 at RTT essentially. Especially if you lose round 1. Losing round 1 means you're kind of in a little bit of an easier meta from round 2 onwards. But we just have pure, free and clear, full advance and charge army wide for Stormlance Task Force plus fall back and charge. Just super fast. Could be playing Gladius, but we're not going to do it. We've got Jump Pack Captain, Double Castellan, Emperor's Champion, Double Marshal. So 2 Castellan Marshal combos plus Jump Pack Captain's interesting. Emperor's Champion, no enhancements whatsoever. Who needs them? They're for losers. Don't customize your characters ever. We have 1 Assault Intercessor Squad, double standard intercessors. Wild. Somebody in chat or over the weekend was like, how many intercessors is too many? I play 3. And I was like, I think that's too many. In fact, I think 2 might be too many. But I guess at least marginally effective. Cool. These guys also, they do have the benefit of advancing shooting and charging because they're either regular bolt rifles or assault. You lose the grenade launcher when you advance, but you can still pound 20 shots into something and then charge it. So like if you're going into horde clear, the intercessor squads are actually super valuable. If you're like trying to deal with like Host of Ascension, an intercessor squad, it almost certainly won't kill 20 neophytes, but it will fuck up 10 neophytes for sure. And with some help, it will kill 20 because you're shooting 20 times, then you're charging and you're attacking 15 more times. So it's 35 attacks, which is kind of sweet. With all wounding on 3s and stuff. We've got 2 units of 3 Blade Guard veterans, a unit of 10 Jump Pack Assault Intercessors. So that's for the Jump Pack Captain. I think the important thing there is like if we get +1 to wound, and a benefit of Stormlance Task Force here is that normally they don't get lance on anything because it only works on mounted units, so it's almost exclusively Thunderwolf Cavalry. But if you are in Black Templars, you can trade Oath for your Templar vow for +1 to wound against higher toughness stuff. If you get Assault Intercessors to Strength 5 and they wound T9 on 5s, that pushes them to 4. So they're actually very valuable, like very threatening to those kind of profiles. Blade Guard Veterans ×2, Sword Brethren ×2, 1 at 5 and 1 at 4. 5 Vanguard Veterans, double Land Raider Redeemers. What? This came out of nowhere. Not what I was expecting out of this Stormlance Task Force list. Plus a Calidus Assassin, double Land Raider Redeemers. Now you can pay a CP to let them advance and charge in Stormlance because you can give all their weapons assault, so that's big. Lets them actually get their flamers online. And that it does make sense. I guess you would take 2 intercessor squads inside Land Raider Redeemers. Plus, you have a bunch of reactive moves, right? Because you can reactive move any infantry or mounted in the faction for a command point in Stormlance Task Force. And then the Sword Bros also do it, right? If you fall back from them, they can make a normal move. So if you just like push forward and engage everything, and then your opponent falls back, you can basically, and the Land Raiders are nearby, you could put all your Sword Brethren and like your 10-man Assault Intercessor squad into transports. I guess not the 10-man. The 10-man doesn't fit. But all the Sword Brethren and like Vanguard veterans just go into the Land Raiders and go hang out, which is actually kind of cute. I like that. What an interesting list. This one's really weird. I do kind of like it though. I like the idea of playing aggro intercessors, just as like a little OBSEC unit who's going to run up and punch people. The +1 to wound, I have a suspicion that the +1 to wound army wide into higher toughness stuff is actually like close to a Liberator assault group like kind of bonus. Especially because you can combine it with a lot of cool things. It's not +1 attack, obviously, but it lets these little guys actually punch up really hard. Like an intercessor squad wounding another intercessor squad on 3s is like it's pretty important. That's a pretty big change. I guess it's a side grade from Liberator because you lose out on the attacks, but it's theoretically has a higher impact on lower strength weapons because you can start wounding super high toughness stuff on 5s regardless. Interesting. All right, well, that's cool. All right, I think we're off to our last one, chat. Oh, no, two more. Let's do Vanguard Spearhead. So again, we're kind of like pushing the reactive plays a little bit. So Vanguard Spearhead from Shadow RTT. We have a Ghostweave Cloak Jump Pack Captain. So he's just he's a nice little utility guy. He gets like rapid ingress for free and then run around. Ghostweave Cloak gives him stealth and lone operative. So you can't shoot him and he just like vibes. He just hops around to objectives and takes and like does scores points forever. We do have an Execrator. Our first Execrator. Good. Our first catch of the day. An honest to God Execrator found spotted in the wild. We have a Lieutenant with Blade Driven Deep, so infiltration. An Emperor's Champion, no enhancements. Double Crusade Ancients, Marshal, and Execrator. Okay. What does a Crusade Ancient do? I have no idea. When he kills someone in melee, he gains +5 OC. And he gives his unit fight on death. Okay. He can dual attach with captains, chapter masters, execrators, or lieutenants. Fascinating. And he has a standard lethal hit power up in profile. So he's like another little Castellan kind of. So that gives you, if you dual attach him with the lieutenant with Blade Driven Deep, you can push him in the middle of the table and you have a fight on death brick that just sits in front of your opponent. I wonder if that's the play. +1 can attach into the Execrator and then give him extra beef in his unit because you cannot dual attach Castellans with the Execrator. He only attaches with captains. Captains or chapter masters. So I think that the Crusade Ancient, I'm sure there's other examples, but I think that the Crusade Ancient might be the only dual attachment for the Execrator. So if you want to pump up the unit size of that unit, that's the only way to do it. Fascinating. Okay. You also then have a Marshal. It could be Marshal and Lieutenant, I guess. And the Marshal does give enhanced lethal hits, so that's a little bit better. That's nice too. Battle line units, 2 Primaris Crusader squads, an infiltrating Primaris. Oh, it's a 20. Oh, chat. But can we attach? Can we attach lieutenants to Crusader squads? I can't imagine you can. But I imagine that's where the execrator goes, right? Oh, you can. If you could attach to an intercessor squad, if you could attach it to Crusaders instead. Oh my god. Eat your fucking heart out, Space Wolves. Are you kidding me? Templars just got a better version of the Space Wolves supplement in literally every way. None of their stuff is like exclusive attachment options. That's nuts. So we can infiltrate 20 Primaris Crusaders with either 5-up lethal hits or fight on death. That's insane. What? Why? Dude, I would be if I was a Space Wolves player, a virgin Space Wolves player, I'd just be balding right now. Why is everything in their codex better than mine? And it's synergistic with the original codex. What the fuck? It's 5 sustained lethal. You're right. You're so right. Although it's not hit rerolls. So fortunately for us, small consolation, it is not a full fire discipline combo. It's just 80% of the way there. on 80 melee attacks. Oh my god. 80 melee attacks plus 2 characters. Jesus. It's like 76 chainsword attacks plus another what? Like 10 power weapon attacks. Okay, cool. Jesus. We've got a Land Raider Redeemer, Sword Brethren, Infiltrator Squad. The other thing too is that they can reactive move against charges and fight on death. So they're really difficult to interact with as well in the crackback. This list is absolutely constructed by a bad man. Primaris Sword Brethren, Infiltrator Squad, Jump Back Accelerator Intercessor times 2, Gladiator Lancer times 2. So these guys are obviously just good for trading shots because they get cover and stealth. When they're far enough away, they get like permanent smoke launchers. So they're good at fighting at a long distance. And then the Land Raider Redeemer can deliver the second Primaris Crusader brick, right? Because you could put the Ancient plus the Execrator inside and still run it around. And then I guess like we just have a unit of 4 dudes just like vibing this unit of 4 Primaris Sword Brother and just like chilling. Because we can't attach them and character attachments into the Land Raider, but at least it gives them a place to like hide if they reactive move. I wonder, chat, is there also the cheekiest interaction with Land Raiders and the Crusader squad as well? If you keep your Crusader squad basically completely within 3 of the Land Raider, then there's no way for a Blood Surge move to trigger and not embark them. So if they fight 3 inches away from the Land Raider, as long as the closest model to the attacking to the nearest enemy unit is within 3 of the Land Raider, the unit can always re-embark. Right? As far as I'm aware, because I don't believe that the Crusader squads Blood Surge restricts embarkation. I don't unless Blood Surge moves do that innately, but I don't think they do. It just never works usually. I'm gonna fact check myself on that. I bet that's very rare. That seems like extremely niche, but I bet it comes up every once in a while, and then it catches people out and flips the whole game. Commentary for surge moves. Come on. Can I only make 1 per phase? Can I do a battle shocks? Can I do it without engagement range? Yep. Huh. Wild. That's crazy. They can also up down. Oh my god, they can. And it's like good up down where they just go into reserve forever, right? So then you can bring them back later. Dude. This is the zaniest list I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, as long as they're 3 inches away from enemies. They're not scouts, right? Even though they have neophytes? That would be dumb. No, they would have to be a scout squad. No, they're just Tacticus guys. All right, good. Chad, I love this list so much. This list is so cool. That's so sick. What a fun list, chat. I like it. I like it a lot. Crusade Ancients. Who knew? Dual attached with Execrators. So we have a frontline insane brick of idiots, and then a backline advance and charge brick as well. Does the Execrator? I guess it doesn't really matter so much, but the Execrator just has like a Crozius and then gains 3 extra melee attacks, right? Yeah, he has a Crozius and he gains 3 lethal hit crowd power open attacks. Okay. Wow. What a cool freaking army. That's creative as fuck and I love it. Those are the kind of lists I like live for when we do these like deep dives. All right, chat. That's fun. That's super fun. Last one for the stream. We've got. Oh, I lied to you earlier. I'm sorry, chat. I misled you. At the very beginning of the stream, I said that no non-Gladius Black Templars went undefeated. That's wrong. That's categorically false. Past Trevi from 90 minutes ago is an asshole. You should denounce him. Because, in fact, we did have 1 3-0 with Ironstorm Spearhead, which is what we're going to talk about. I thought it was 2-1, but it was, in fact, 3-0. And I just, I didn't list it on my notes. Mistakes were made. Let's talk about some Ironstorm Spearhead. So this is Brett Whalen from Battle Ready RTT. So Ironstorm, obviously the vehicle detachment. We get access to like a 4+ feel no pain on as an enhancement. Add up to the Omnisaya to 0 out incoming damage on vehicles. Master Machine War to make a vehicle advance and do stuff. Plus, we get a floating reroll hit or wound or damage on every single vehicle in the army. And then you can save that for your wound rolls, obviously, if you have things like Repulsor Executioners that baseline just reroll hits all the time. So that seems pretty good. So Brett over here rocking 2 Castellan and Marshall combos. A combi weapon lieutenant with Master Machine War. So he's lone operative, so he can run around wherever he wants. The Master Machine War is the most annoying possible timing, because it used to be an aura, and then they were like decided it was too good, so they made it a single target in command phase. It targets 1 vehicle in command phase, so you have to stay within 6 of your vehicles. But fortunately, he's an independent little guy. He can run around. He can do it. We have Flesh is weak on the Emperor's Champion, so again, super tough to kill. He's now a 4+2, 4+ armor, 4+ invuln, and has a damage blank, so he's even harder to kill. Plus a Tech Marine with add up to the Omnisaya, so the 0 damage. All right. We've got the Intercessor Squad for the backline, Incursor Squad for the Scout, Infiltrator Squad for screening, 1 Scout Squad for utility, 2 Sword Brethren squads for the Castellan and Marshall combo, and then a trillion guns. Ballistus Dreadnought, Gladiator Lancer, Executioner. So the Ballistus Dreadnought gains hit rerolls. It starts the train because it gains hit rerolls against stuff above half strength. Gladiator Lancers have their own floating hit, wound, and damage, which is basically close to full rerolls if you combine it with the Ironstorm reroll, the Ironstorm Spearhead reroll. So they're basically almost it's very rare that you will have more than 4 dice that you want to reroll over the course of a single activation on the laser destroyer shots anyway. Plus, they also get multi-meltas. So you could have 4 potential anti-tank shots that you want rerolls on. And you have access to hit, wound, damage, plus a float. So you get 4 total rerolls on the Gladiator Lancers. So they're basically rerolling everything. Repulsor Executioners are rerolling all hit rolls all the time, plus get a floating rune reroll for their laser cannon as well. So the shooting becomes ludicrously consistent, absolutely insanely consistent. Plus the Executioners are transports for the small Sword Brethren squads, or the Incursors or whatever, or the the little stuff. And we get, it's really funny because the Black Templars always having like a slightly above average vehicle profiles always makes them better than Iron Hands at doing vehicles. Iron Hands they're just like malding, and they're like, shitting and crying over here because they do not hold a candle to how good Black Templars consistently are at doing vehicle play. But it's even worse because they now have a second caddy for an enhancement because they have the Emperor's Champion. So previously it was all Tech Marines and Combi Weapon Lieutenants, but now you have another independent lone operative who doesn't care about standing near anyone. Which we could be putting auras on or whatever, but we're just going to take him as an insanely hard to kill utility guy. And he can start inside an Executioner and just hop out and run and go do stuff too. And he's higher than average movement too. Oh, that seems really good, chat. That seems really, really good. Also, the Gladiator Lancers are no more expensive than the standard Gladiator Lancer, even if they're the ones in Black Templars, even though they have a multi-melt on top. So they get like a really high efficiency anti-tank gun for free. Yucky. That's crazy. Lancer rerolls hit, wound, and damage? Yes, that's correct. Unless the Black Templar's Lancer is different, but I don't think it is. Let's double check. Indeed, chats. You can reroll 1 hit roll. You can reroll 1 wound roll. And you can reroll 1 damage roll. Yeah, the Lancers are... there's a reason that Lancers, for the longest time, were the most highly played Space Marine vehicle. They're much cheaper than Vindicators, and they're significantly more reliable than Vindicators. Because the chances, if you have any other offensive buff on them, so you have like +1 hit from an Incursor, Oath of Moment, Ironstorm Spearhead, the chances that they convert both laser destroyer shots into your save is almost 100%. The Ballistus Dreadnought has a higher volume, but the attacks are the wound roll is the tough part for the Ballistus Dreadnought. The Lancer has higher strength, higher AP, and wound rerolls, or 1 wound reroll. In this case, for Ironstorm Spearhead, probably 2 wound rerolls. Pretty good, I say. And that was like designed, I think, intentionally alongside Ironstorm Spearhead, because Ironstorm Spearhead, you are supposed to take the low volume, high impact shooting, which is what we're doing here. So that makes sense. Yeah, Lancers get all 3. Yep. That's not new technology, by the way, Chad. That's always been that way. But yeah, if you're a Space Marine player and you've slept on the Lancer, yeah. They're also like Lancers are hilarious. They always get me because they are so pointedly anti-tank. They're like, all I want to do is shoot at a tank. But they also have 16 additional attacks, which blows my mind. And people get shocked every time I play them. So the coolest thing about the Lancer, and this is not the case for the Ballistus Dreadnought, which is the direct competition for Lancer, is that it gets a heavy stubber, so 6 strength 4 shots, plus up to 2 Stormbolters. The benefit of the Stormbolters in this case is you can fire them when you're engaged. You don't always take Stormbolters on these things. Technically, the Fragstorm grenade launcher is higher potential upside and slightly higher effective range because you get your full shots out to 18 rather than 12. However, their max range is shorter. But the big thing is that when you're engaged, the Lancer doesn't do anything if it has, or the Fragstorm grenade launchers don't do anything. But the Stormbolters can just fire into melee. So you get 8 Stormbolter shots plus 6 Stubber shots plus D3 Icarus Rocket Pod shots. And that throws people off every time they see it. Because you look at a Gladiator Lancer and you're like, all right, anti-tank guy. And then he shoots 18 times into an infantry unit. And if you have any buffs on them, They just die if they don't have good saves. And so sometimes you'll see Lancers in matchups where Lancers are really bad. So like Gene Stealer cults, let's say, where the only relevant target for a Lancer is like the Achilles Ridge Runner that's hiding on the other side of the table behind a building. And so you just play them as this big brick that your opponent has to dedicate anti-tank to kill. If they don't, the Lancer just rocks up and kills 7 infantry every time it shoots with like no buffs whatsoever. And then just screens out a huge chunk of the table. And that's what's really cool about those guys. I dig Lancers. Plus, the funny thing too is if you don't need it on the laser cannon shot, and in this case, these guys shoot like 20 times because they have the multi-melt on top too. You can use the reroll on the sub guns too. So a lot of times it gets used on Icarus rocket pod shots if you don't need it on the laser destroyer because it's already converted. So it's nice. I don't know. It's a good profile. There's a hot minute where I played basically nothing but Lancers, but then they discounted Ballistic Dreadnoughts massively, and then everyone played Ballistic Dreadnoughts. But I very much like Lancer play. It's really fun. Plus, it's a cool tank. I have a Lancer in my case somewhere. I don't remember. I super like them. They work great to activate the crit fives for repulsor executioners. Oh, that's a good call. Yeah. If you have a critical effect, then and you shoot at something that's it's below starting, right? Yeah. Then you can gain sustained hits and critical fives. It's like 2 CP though, right? It's like a really expensive stratagem. My silly goober. It is 2 CP, yeah. Because that stratagem was 1, I think, on printing, right? It was super broken. Each time you make an attack targeting an enemy below starting strength, you gain sustained 1, and if you're a vehicle, you gain critical 5s. So if you shoot something, deal a little bit of damage to it, you gain 5 up critical hits. And then, in this case, the Repulsor Executioner then also gets hit rerolls because it's a Black Templars guy. So you can trigger it more. But most of the time, it's going to be just Mercy, is Oath of Momented. But you saw that for a while in like there were some Ultramarine Gladiator or Ironstorm builds that played Reapers, and Reapers getting sustained 2 against infantry. So if you were 5 up critting, rerolling hits, and sustained 2, they went insane. And then they had reroll wounds and devastating wounds too, so they cleared infantry super fast. Probably not doing that in this case, but at least the Repulsor Executioner is getting sustained hits and then a trillion defensive ray shots. So it shoots just a million times and gets a bunch of bonuses. Can you take Combi Meltas on Ballistic Dreadnoughts? You cannot. Ballistic Dreadnoughts profile's locked in. They have no options whatsoever. Because that's just what they do. This is all a Ballistic Dreadnought gets. You cannot change any of it. Missile Launcher, Laser Cannon, and Stormbolter. But hit rerolls, so that's good. And that chat, if you could take multi-beltas on these things, they'd be broken as fuck. Even more broken than they already are. They're so dumb. The other benefit, I mean, in the comparison to the Lancer, the benefit the Ballistic Dreadnought has is +1 save, though. It trades 4 inches of movement for +1 save. Or 2 inches of movement for +1 save. What's the Lancer? They would go 12 or 10? They go 10, I think. They go 10, yeah. So 2 inches of movement, but you get +1 save. So the Ballistic Dreadnought's good at slugging it out with something better, because they usually don't die on the crackback. But sometimes Lancers survive, but it's usually sometimes they just fall apart. 4 heavy laser destroyers? Ugh, that'd be disgusting. I'm glad they have the missile launcher. It's a little bit less good. Oh, 4 for you mean like on an executioner with sustains? I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, 2 shots, 2 crits, 4 hits. Yeah, that's Leagues of Votann energy right there. That's I shoot with my SP heavy conversion beamer, and I shoot 2 times and I hit 9 or 8, I guess. And then each one's for 4 damage. Take 24, and you're like, okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Here's 8. What is it? Whatever it is. AP3, ignore cover. 4 damage each. Alrighty then. Thank you. What does it mean if something's twin linked? You can reroll the wound roll. So even though the Ballistus has 4 Stormbolters on the model, usually if a gun, this isn't 100% the case. It's up to the designers basically. If there's 2 of the gun on one like targeting system. So if it's like turreted and it's like a pair of weapons, usually instead of giving it 2 of that weapon, it will just be a twin linked one. So it will fire the same profile as a normal weapon, but then get wound rerolls to symbolize the volume attack. But sometimes they also just do twin of that weapon and just give you double hits, double shots, which is what they used to do for 9th, and they're coming back to it. Like the ballistus las cannon on this guy is like a twin linked las cannon, but in this case it's just 2 shots for the las cannon profile. R.I.P. Conversion Casino. Yeah, I'm curious to see. We'll start to see Votann probably next week, I think. But I'm curious to see what like Hecaton build actually comes out, because the profiles in the Land Fortress are really weird now, because they basically like reduced all the weapon effectiveness but doubled its shot count. So it's like, that's quite a thing. I don't know. Mercy's weakness on Gilliman is fun. Just for sustains? That seems okay. He doesn't get 5-up criticals, though, because he's not a vehicle. He has a vehicle for pain, but not. He doesn't. He does not have the keyword, unfortunately. Poor baby. Anyway, chat. That is all of the. The Black Templar stuff I want to talk about today. No crit 5s. Right. Sustain 1 and sweep is good. Yeah, but it's 2 CP though. It's a lot. Although at least in previous, because I played Ironstorm Ultramarines for a little while, and before they nerfed the command point generation, you had so many CP in Ultramarines, you would just use it because you generated 3 per turn, 3 per round, 4 if you had a captain anywhere, basically. Because I think for a hot minute I played the independent Gravis captain with Flesh's weakness. So he was Flesh is weak. So he was half damage, 4+ feel no pain. And just ran around the table. And he would do strats for free. So he would like AOC and throw grenades and stuff for free. Gilliman would give you 2 strats for free, and then Marnie's Calgar gave you 1 CP. And at that point, you just started spending Mercy's weakness, because you look at your pool and you're like, I have 6 command points. What will I do? I guess I'll get sustained hits on this guy, because you have 9 models out of 10. So whatever, who cares? Let's go. You would like be trying to push the math over on your like 5 intercessors fighting your opponent, being like, I guess I'll give myself sustain for an exorbitant amount of money because I have an infinite number of CP. A good thing they nerfed that stuff, because it was definitely too good for Ultramarines. It does feel bad because I liked Ultramarines' identity being logistical, like just having more resources than you. But the problem is that their units are also, they're the poster children, so their units also have to be high damage and scary. So they're like, we have the best characters with the highest damage and also the most command points. You're like, that's too many things, Ultramarines. You got to calm down. Anyway, chat. Will there be a Tactical Tuesday? There will. In fact, I will make it so that it redirects to the Tactical Tuesday. The thing's already up. I think what I want to do is talk more generally about the meta tomorrow, because the meta this weekend, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, and as I mentioned in the video this morning, the meta is probably the most fun. It's like they're super interesting if there's no Death Guard. So I think that's a funny thing to talk about. I don't have the stream up yet, but I will also be live Wednesday. I want to do a more regular show called Warhamster Wednesday, where we talk about funny stuff like drama, Reddit threads, silly things, and I haven't set it up yet because I've been traveling so much. But now that I'm not traveling, at least for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to set that up. So I'm going to be live on Wednesday at the same time as well. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all 3 days. Plus, I'm going to be live over on Twitch just after this in about 3 hours. I'm going to be playing Demons. I will drop my link. Do I think the slate is this week? I heard a rumor that there is a balance update due this week, an emergency balance patch this week, which I hope is the case. And I hope it's not super sweeping. The last thing I would want them to do is release an underbaked, like wholesale, like holistic balance update. But we do need to fucking kill Death Guard, dude. And I think that the rumors of it being a balance slate is very likely because Nova is in 2 weeks. And Nova is one of GW's like big original like OG flagship events on US soil. And so it's like a 400 person super major. It would be annoying if they went in with huge heavy involvement in Nova and it was just top 16 Death Guard. So I think I actually was theorizing previously that I think we would see a change before Nova. People told me I was wrong, but the rumors seem to maybe confirm that, but we'll see. We'll see on Wednesday. If that is the case on Wednesday, then we'll talk about that, obviously. But if there isn't anything else, then I have a huge list of extremely silly little bits of drama and things that I'd like to talk about, which is going to be fun. So that's what we'll do. Anyway, chat, come hang out with me on twitch.tv/TacticalTortoiseTV at 6:30 US Eastern Time tonight. I'm playing some demons. I'm trying to get some reps in before I go to Nova, because it sounds like I'm going to be going there to play, which is wild. I haven't done that in fucking literal years. So I'm trying to lock in a list that I actually want to play and then like paint up my models and shit like that. So anyway, folks, that's it for me. Thank you. Keep it classy. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you in a little bit. Cheers, everyone.